Matt Bernie, you're taking a look at some two-year-old stakes action from Churchill Downs Saturday afternoon. Two-year-olds going 3/4 of a mile beneath the Twin Spires on the main track, the Grade 3 Bashford Manor. Let's take a look at the field. 10 two-year-olds signed on. This is let's call it a bit of a springboard. Somebody runs well here, you would assume you're going to see them in about a month's time up at the spot, Saratoga, whether it's in the Sanford, whether it's in any of those sort of two-year-old races leading in, hopefully, to the hopeful. At the end of the meeting, a Grade 1 race, and maybe even then on to the Breeders' Cup and things of that nature. This is a race, to me, it feels like there are two horses that kind of have the established form, where the rest of the boys need to kind of, I don't want to say sort themselves out, but they're going to need to take significant steps forward if they're going to upend any of those other two. And the thing to keep in mind, though, is that they're so lightly raced, they're two-year-olds, that they can jump up tremendously from start 1 to 2 to 3, 3 to 4, whatever the case may be. The two horses that are going to take the lion's share of the money, the 1 Phantom Boss, the 10 Rowdy Yates. Let's start on the inside with Phantom Boss because he's really done nothing wrong in 2 lifetime starts. He's a neck away from being a perfect 2 for 2. In his career debut, he finished a neck behind 4 left. 4 left came back and won a stakes race at Belmont Park on Belmont Stakes Week in the Tremont Stakes. Earned a 69 buyer that day. In the debut, Raging Whiskey, the 3rd place finisher, next out winner with a 66. The 4th place finisher, Verb, also in this race here on Saturday afternoon, he came back and earned a 68 buyer. So the form of that race held up nicely. Phantom Boss then goes out in his 2nd lifetime start, makes it to the front, sets what Timeform US is saying is soft fractions, able to go off and win very impressively. The runner-up, who he handled very easily, Pot of Panique, came back, broke his maiden in his next start with a 60 buyer speed figure. So the 78 is the highest last out buyer in the field. The 95 highest last out raw Timeform rating for Phantom Boss for Jorge Parabon. Rafael Bejarano comes in to take them out. Look, there's not a lot to knock about this horse. The thing that I would be concerned, if you're a fan of Phantom Boss, is the inside draw. If you don't get out of there in good order, his first 2 starts, he's broken toward the outside of the gate. He's breaking from inside post 1, stretching out from 4.5 to 6. I think he's going to be forwardly placed. If they don't want to have the lead, then it'll be kind of interesting to see how things shake out, because the only other real speed in this race, in my opinion anyway, that you have to deal with is the far outside. That's Rowdy Yates. Timeform US tends to agree with me. Let's take a look at the pace projector. They have it 10-1-8-3 with a red bar. I happen to think down on the inside, Bejarano's got one way to go. I think you got to break and try to send. And if that's the case, I think Ricardo Santana Jr. on Rowdy Yates, I think they'd be very content taking up that beautiful sort of pace-pressing trip and saying, you know what, we'll take our chances that we're on just a better horse. Rowdy Yates, I like everything he did in his career debut. Broke alertly, pressured the lead throughout, was on a pressured lead throughout, and went on very impressively. His ears were pricked. When he was set down, he extended, leveled off beautifully. This is one of those instances where we talk about that about 20-point differential between the buyer number and what the Timeform US ratings are. Timeform US had the race faster than the buyer associates did. 94 on Timeform scale, pace non-adjusted, an unadjusted, or I call it a raw number. The 64 on the buyer scale. So really, if you believe the Timeform rating, you can crank it up to about a 74 buyer. If you believe the buyer number, you want to take that Timeform rating down to about a 84. Either way, I think Rowdy Yates works out a very nice trip from the far outside for Steve Asmussen. I like everything about that debut. I think he's going to run well again. I brought up Verb earlier. He runs for Keith DeSormo. He's a maiden here. There are a few maidens running in this spot. You understand why. Take a shot. There's not a giant difference right at this point anyway in these horses' career. Take a chance here. He showed some speed in his most recent run at 5.5 furlongs on June the 14th. Couldn't quite finish it off. He was bet down to 7-2 that day. Son of Dialed In. Added ground. I don't think it's going to be an issue for him. The question is, do you think he's quite as good as a horse like Phantom Boss or Rowdy Yates in the far outside? Take a look at the 2, Snell Yeah. It's a great name. I think this is an intriguing sort of runner in here. The Damn Joyous Music, she was a stakes winner on dirt. The sire, Gradar, is off to a pretty good start as a sire himself. Took a pretty significant step forward from start 1 to start 2. Came back, finished 2nd in that run most recently. The concern is both of his runs have come over sloppy sealed going. So who knows? Maybe he'll be better on a fast main track, or maybe he has run well on sloppy sealed goings, and maybe he won't quite translate over there. For what it's worth, the 5th place finisher in that most recent run, he came back and earned a 61 buyer in his next start. I think Snelliad's interesting. I don't know that I love him on top, but I'll be using him underneath in exotics. The 3, Alec and Arthur, is another one I think you want to consider as maybe a little bit of a, I don't want to say an outside shot, but look, I think he's done some good things through 3 lifetime starts. 2 victories. in a third-place finish in a stakes race, the Kentucky Juvenile, 2 starts back. For what it's worth, the Kentucky Juvenile hasn't come back all that strong. The outside runner, or the horse breaking just to the outside of Alec and Arthur, Rookie Salsa was the winner that day. He won that race at 27-1. Alec and Arthur is the kind of horse that I think if you believe the 1 and the 10 are going to go, maybe Alec and Arthur is the one that can take up that sort of pocket position. And if for some reason, whether it's the added ground or the ship or whatever it is for Phantom Boss and he can't see it out, or maybe you get an instance where Rowdy Yates, he either can't pass horses or maybe he regresses or whatever it may be, maybe Alec and Arthur is the one that gets first run and he can take advantage. And you know that he has done some decent enough things. He's won at the track. The distance I don't think is going to be a problem for him. And he's got good connections with John Hancock and Tyler Gaffalione listed aboard. Alec and Arthur, I'm not going to talk anybody off this horse at a decent price. I mentioned Rookie Salsa earlier. He's one that would appreciate that pace to be a little bit on the hotter side, where he could sit just off and come with his run. They tried the Tremont most recently. I didn't think he was great that day, but I didn't think he ran poorly, all things considered, especially when there was as many questions as there were coming out of that Kentucky Juvenile. The problem is, this is a horse that doesn't matter whether you're looking at the Buyers or the time form ratings. He is going the wrong direction. From a Buyer number standpoint, he went from 61 to 59 to 49 in his first 3 starts, and then from a time form standpoint, he went 89, 83, 68. I think Rookie Salsa is an okay horse, and the way that he ran in that Kentucky Juvenile 2 starts back, you got to have a little bit of ability to be able to dramatically shift and alter course the way that he did. I'm concerned that the numbers are going the wrong direction. I don't want to write him off at all. I mean, he's done some good things in 3 lifetime starts, a couple of victories, and I think Jeremiah O'Dwyer does a good job. I'm at a point now where, from a numbers standpoint, I need him to prove that we can sort of right this ship and go back the right direction as opposed to continue trending the wrong way. We'll take a look at a couple other runners in here. The 5, Finnick the Fierce, excuse me, broke his maiden in the first lifetime start at Indiana Grand. Did so at 2-1. Look, the race hasn't come back great. The runner-up came back and earned a 31 Buyer. The 39 that Finnick the Fierce earned that day, that just pales in comparison to what we're going to be looking at as a winning number. Again, he could take a tremendous step forward, but Time Form US had that race slow as well. Finnick the Fierce, not for me in this spot. Silent Malice, the number 6, is intriguing for Pat Byrne. This is a spot where I think as much speed as possible is going to be to this one's benefit. If they just throw it down early and this thing comes apart, I think Silent Malice will come with a run at the end. You see he's a son of Palace Malice out of a Speightstown mare. He is one of the maidens in this spot. No match for Rowdy Yates in the career debut. But again, he's one. If all of a sudden they throw it down early, I think he could come with a run from the back of the pack. Maybe he's one you want to use underneath. The 7, Jamming Cameron. Again, a horse that thus far, the only victory to date, gate to wire fashion. Can't imagine him making the top in a race like this. And from a number standpoint, he's just not very fast. He needs to improve by leaps and bounds to be competitive in here. He's not my kind of horse, unfortunately. And the number 9, the last horse we'll touch on, is 2 Last Words, going up for Tim Gleishaw. Corey Lannery has the mount. Another one, a winner of a debut effort at Indiana Grand. Comes back here, first time against winners, taking on much, much better horses. The horses he defeated in that career debut, the race has come back just dreadful, really. 3 horses have come back, 32, 32, and 36 Buyer speed figures. That kind of that checks out as far as what we're looking at from this horse here. 2 Last Words here into 36 and a 55 as far as those 2 figures are concerned, respectively. Look, crazier things have happened. He's just going to need to improve by so much. And I do look at this pedigree, and you see Commissioner, you see Fusici Pegasus on the bottom. You wonder if he'll be one that does better as the distances get longer down the road. He's not for me in here. Maybe sit back and watch one. So where am I going to go in here for the Grade 3 Bashford Manor? No surprise. I think the 2 favorites, and usually I'd like to look for sort of intriguing alternatives, especially when they've run as infrequently as these horses have. I just happen to think the 10 and the 1 are really tough in a spot like this, and I prefer, not just because of the outside draw, but I think I just really liked what I saw from Rowdy Yates in that career debut. I trust Steve Asmussen and company. I'm going to go 10, 1, 2, and 3 in here. I like Rowdy Yates over Phantom Boss to get the job done in the Grade 3 Bashford Manor at Churchill Downs on Saturday afternoon. Scheduled post time for race number 11, 5:59 Eastern. Good luck.